video should be a little bit of consolidation for the work you've done so far on operating systems and application software and utility software. So you should have read the material. Maybe it's made sense, maybe it hasn't. Again, I'm going to give you a video that takes you beyond what you can do on the school computer, so we can actually have an example of how it all works. Now, the utility software that you are looking at, one in particular called defrag or defragmentation, I want to talk about a little bit later, and hopefully I'm going to present a video on how that works, but that's quite important. And secondly, these videos are not just here for your schoolwork and sort of exam work. They are for personal use. It's knowledge that you need, and hopefully I'm going to show you that a little bit later on when we have a look at disk drives. But first of all, there are three kinds of applications. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start a utility, and really there are lots and lots of utilities bundled with your computer. They run in the background, some of them, so when you're typing or using your mouse, those applications are already in memory just waiting for you to do something. This one that I'm going to do now isn't. It's a utility that lives on the disk, and you need to actually start it up, but it doesn't do anything other than be a utility, and I'll discuss utilities in a little while. So I'm going to start something called the task manager, because I want to have a look at some of the applications that are already loaded into your computer and running in the background, and here we can see them. These are all applications that when the computer started up, these were loaded into memory and they're just running. So a couple of them, Explorer, that is the file manager. So if I click on that, that is Explorer. So that is already running in the computer, and if I stop that working, then that stops the computer. These two here, HTTPD, they are web servers. This one, MySQLD, that is a database running in the background. Task Manager.exe. Now remember, applications can either be called executables.exe files on Windows. That's not true on a Mac. Or applications or programs. They've got different names. They all mean the same thing. They're things that run. This one here, VBox Tray, that's this little item down at the bottom right hand side with the date and a few bits and pieces running. But this one, Task Manager, is the program that I'm working at the moment, and if I click on it and choose End Process, this window should disappear and I'd have to start it up again. So I can actually control my programs from the Task Manager if I needed to. So what I want to show you is that the applications that I've got running at the moment are none. I'm going to start up an application. Now, an application is something that you tend to buy on a disk and load onto your computer. So I've got one here, Ball and Delphi, which we've seen. So if I start it up, I'm hoping that when I run the program, so if you notice the program is now running, but what's popped up is this window. This is a program in its own right, just to check that, well, it's saying that this version of Delphi was written for Windows XP. Now we're in Windows 7. There's going to be some compatibility issues. Are you sure you want to run it? I'm going to choose Run Program, and you should see that the window goes and Delphi 7 starts up. Now, I've got two ways of closing it. I can close it through the red X on here, and if I do that, it shuts down and the task goes away. Right, let's run that again. Or I can actually use the Task Manager to close it down. So there's Delphi 7 running again. Let's get it going. Click on Delphi 7 and choose End Task, and it shuts it down. So this is the Task Manager. This is managing all the tasks that happen on Windows, and there are lots of applications. Processes are applications that are running in the background, and I can do the same thing with these. So let's start up Google Chrome, and what I've noticed is that if I go back to the task manager, is that the antivirus graphical user interface has sort of kicked in here, and then the Chrome extensions. Now I only clicked it once, but I've got 3 or more, several. Now all of those are different programs that are working for the browser. So one of them will be to accept what's happening in the box here. One of them will probably be to display things on the screen. There's a lot of different programs running just on Google Chrome, and all of these are loading into memory, and it's telling you just how much memory space it's taking up. But this is still an application. And if I type localhost, I should get what we did in the last one, hello year 11, because I have got, let me see if I can find it, I have got a web server running here, HTTPD. It's running in the background. Now that is destined to start when the machine turns on, and it just stays there until the machine's turned off. However, I can, if I want to, end this process, and there you go, my web server, end that process as well. My web server has now been sort of turned off. So if I refresh my browser on localhost, it's thinking, and then it says I can't reach the site because I have turned off my web server. Now that is a utility. I can turn it back on using a control panel, or I could find it, and there we go. My web server is now running again, and if I refresh the page, there we go, we've got this back. So the task manager is showing you all the programs that are working in the background. Now some of these are well, they're just called tasks. You don't really need to know what or how they work. The computer controls that for you. I've just shut down Chrome, and all Chrome things go from the task manager. However, this AVG browser cropped up a lot. If you've got a virus, it will show up in here, hopefully, and you could probably deal with it in that way. So I'm going to show you some more utility programs. There are a lot of utility programs with a computer because you need to manage it. The computer's responsible for sort of, when you save a file, it knows where to put it on the disk and how to make the disk work. It doesn't require you to start up or run any kind of program. It does that automatically for you. However, what it doesn't do is things like backing up your hard drive, or cleaning your hard drive, or copying files from one place to another. All of that is down to you and down to the utilities that you use. And we can see one or two of them. Before we go there, I'm going to show you where the utilities are stored. Normally, they're on your hard drive in the Windows folder, in a file or folder, called System32. Now, it's very dangerous to go around playing with it because if you delete or make a mistake with any of these files, that is the end of Windows for you, and your computer will be lost. But all of these down here are, this is called an application extension, a library. So it's sort of, when you run a program, it needs an extra bit of information, it will go to the library and find that. Then we've got things called executable files. This is a help file, but this is an executable file, so I could theoretically run that. I don't want to, I don't know what it does, but your computer will probably be in control of that when you choose to do something. But this is mainly command line interface sort of work. I'm going to find one that is mentioned in the coursework called defrag, and I'm going to show you a couple of ways of doing it. So let's go and find the defrag utility. Now the purpose of defrag, like I said, I'll give you some help with that on how it works. And look at this one, dialer. That is from about, I don't know, 40 years ago. It's still in there, and that's how to use a modem and dial out using a phone. It's just not used anymore. They keep them in. I'm not seeing defrag anywhere. Maybe it's a bit further down. These are all libraries. So let's scroll down a little bit past the libraries. And into the actual items. No, I can't see it there, so maybe if I just type in defrag here for search, it's going to find, there we go, defrag.exe. And if I double click on that, hopefully it's going to start up my system. But it's running in the background. Okay? And that's kind of not what we want. There's a way of actually getting to defrag and using it. So every time I double click on it, you can just see the window pop up and it closes itself down because there's no graphical user interface to control it. But I can get to these things again if I go to the file manager, and if I right click on the local disk and this is Windows 7, that's fine. If I go to properties, the reason why I just hesitated there is because it's called optimizing Windows 10 rather than defrag. And if we go to tools, we'll find that file here. And if I click on defrag now, it will run that file. Now, the reason why we didn't get this window is because it wants to know a little bit more information, like analyze the disk, defrag the disk. So I'm going to choose defrag the disk and run this. And it's running, it's analyzing the disk, but it's not really showing me any information. I can schedule it to run every day or every week. I can stop the operation. I can analyze the disk. What I was hoping for was a nice picture of the disk. Obviously in Windows 7 they've taken the old visual clue out. But that's one thing that I can do. So let's stop that operation and close that window. Another thing we can do is backups. So we've got a backup now. We can check the drive for errors. Now the drive tends to get errors over time, so the older your hard drive is, the more errors you'll get. So I've just started that up to check the disk for errors. I'm going to cancel that. And this one backup now. I don't really want to back this up, but I've clicked it. So it's going to ask me some information about where I want my backup to go to and how to restore it. Now backup I'm going to just talk about briefly. The two kinds of backups that you need to know about. One is called a full backup, where it takes everything that is on your hard drive and saves it somewhere else, an external drive, a card, anywhere but where you are, just in case your hard drive fails. Then you can restore your system back if there's a big crash or you have a problem. Then there's something called an incremental backup. Now what that does, first of all, it takes a backup of your whole hard drive. So everything is saved, for care and just in case an accident happens. But every time you choose to back up and it's incremental, it only backs up the files that you have changed or used since you made the original backup. So here we can see on date modified for all of these files, there's the last time they were used. And if I create a file or play around with a file, then it will have a file date. So the backup goes through all of these dates, finds the ones since your backup and just backs those up. Now, what's the purpose in that? Well, let me just show you. I've just backed up a 4 terabyte drive. So let's go onto my Mac, and I'll talk about this later, but I want to have a look at this picture. This is backing up 1 terabyte. So that drive there is 1 terabyte, and I'm backing it up to a 4 terabyte drive. And as you can see, it's, well, nearly finished, about 80% complete. In fact, it's 86% complete. But it says that the time remaining is more than 1 day. And actually, it took more than 2 days to back up 1 terabyte onto a 4 terabyte hard drive. Now, you've got to consider that if you're sort of managing the school system, you can't back it up overnight. So on a Wednesday night, you can't say, let's back this system up, and then receive a message saying more than 1 day, because that means people won't be able to use the computers the following day. Most backups take place over a weekend when there's nobody in the school or the business or wherever it is. But this is a full backup. It's backing up everything, and it's a bit slow, which I'll explain in a later video. But it's going to take more than a day. If I was doing an incremental backup, only backing up the file since the original backup, it might only take about 10 minutes. So that's the difference between doing a full and an incremental backup. So we've got lots of utilities that we're going to use. We've got applications that you purchase and run on your machine. You've got applications that come with your operating system that make the computer work. And then you've got utilities to manage your computer, making copies, backup, defragmenting the hard drive, checking it for errors, all sorts of things like that. There are far too many for me to cover. As you saw when we went through that System 32 folder, there are thousands of programs that run. So that's my first look at consolidating and bringing you up to speed with reality, really. You might have to do this with your own computers.